Elon Musk shocked to find his black son with a millionaire homeless man at the door. Jack Stevens, the tech billionaire known for shaking up the entire industry, wasn't prepared for this scene. The night was still, quiet in the wealthy neighborhood where his mansion stood like a fortress. But there they were, his teenage son, Marcus, standing right on the doorstep, deep in conversation, with a man who looked nothing like the world Jack had crafted around them. The man was filthy, the kind of grime that seeps into skin over years. His clothes hung loose, soaked with dirt, ripped at the seams. Yet his eyes, those eyes, were sharp and alert, almost unreadable, like a storm waiting to break. Jack's chest tightened. He felt a lump rise in his throat, caught between anger and confusion. Marcus wasn't just talking to this man, he was listening, leaning in as if the homeless stranger held the answers to questions Jack's money never solved. It was surreal. His son, the kid who spent. Jack's fingers trembled on the iron gate as he stepped closer. A few neighbors peeked from behind curtains, whispering shadows of doubt and disbelief. "Who is that? Why's he here?" "That man, he looks dangerous." The rumors would start soon. Jack felt the heavy weight of their judgment before any words were even spoken. The homeless man introduced himself as Henry, spoke quietly, but with an undeniable authority. He told Marcus he was once a millionaire himself. A fact so absurd it nearly stunned Jack silent. But then Henry lowered his voice, cracked by years of hardship, revealing a brutal truth. Dealer's tricks, bitter betrayals, a fraudulent scheme that demolished his fortune overnight. Marcus's eyes darkened with something like understanding. He asked things Jack never thought his son would wonder aloud. What's the price of money? Is wealth the same as happiness? Jack swallowed hard, suddenly realizing the distance he'd built between what he owned and what Marcus felt inside. There was electricity between them. Jack, Marcus, Henry, unspoken emotions tangled around dark secrets. And Henry wasn't finished. With a shadowed glance and a hesitant pause, he dropped a bomb that shook the room. A link hidden for years between him and Jack's family. A secret so deep it could unravel Marcus's world, and maybe Jack's too. The night air thickened. The mansion's bright lights seemed colder now, harsher. Jack's mind raced. What was Henry really after? What was he willing to sacrifice to expose the truth? And as Marcus stood between them, caught in the middle of wealth and ruin, Jack felt a sharp sting. How well did he really know his own son? Before the answers could come, a sudden silence fell. The quiet was broken by a low, biting question from Henry, one that left them all frozen. What price are you ready to pay? For the truth? The fog of mystery clung tight. The only thing clear was that nothing would ever be the same. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The night hung heavy, thick with tension. Marcus stood frozen, his youthful face taut with uncertainty. Henry's question shattered the stillness, echoing around them like a distant siren. What price are you ready to pay for the truth? The words hung in the air, both a challenge and a plea. Jack clenched his fists, a knot of dread tightening in his stomach. What truth? What are you talking about? His voice came out stronger than he felt, a facade for the chaos brewing inside him. Henry's gaze flickered, almost sad. You don't know, do you? But you will. And just like that, the night exploded. A siren howled in the distance, growing louder, more insistent. Flashing lights illuminated the street, casting erratic shadows against the mansion's walls. Jack's heart raced. What's happening? He turned, glancing down the road. But it was too late. 2 police cars screeched to a halt, tires screeching against the asphalt. From the corner of his eye, Jack saw another figure approaching. A woman, familiar but disheveled, staggered toward them, eyes wild, face streaked with tears. "Marcus!" she shouted, her voice breaking. Jack's breath caught in his throat. Jessica, his ex-wife. "Mom?" Marcus took a step forward, confusion melting into concern. "What are you doing here? Is everything okay?" "No!" Jessica's voice cracked, desperation etched in her features. "You need to come with me." Now, before Jack could process the moment, she lunged at Henry, fury and fear colliding. You did this." Her words were a sharp blade, cutting through the already tense atmosphere. "Jessica, wait!" Jack shouted, grabbing her arm, but she shrugged him off, eyes blazing. "You don't understand. He's dangerous." Henry stood calm, the chaos swirling around him like a distorted mirror. "I'm not the threat, Jessica. You know that." Tension crashed like thunder. "What does that mean?" Jack asked, sensing the ground shift beneath him. Henry inhaled slowly, letting the quiet settle. "It means you're connected in ways that neither of you knows yet. This isn't just about me or money. It's about family." Time seemed to freeze. Jack's pulse thundered in his ears, drowning out the sounds of the world. "What are you talking about?" "I'm saying," Henry hesitated, eyes darting between Jack and Marcus. "There's a reason I'm here, and it's not just random chance. The truth is darker than you can imagine." Marcus's face paled, the color draining from his cheeks. "What truth?" His voice trembled, echoing the fear wrapping around them like a choking vine. Suddenly, the night sky erupted in a cacophony of sirens as police officers exited their cars, guns drawn. "Get down! Hands up!" they shouted, framing Jack, Marcus, and Jessica in a chaotic tableau of flashing blue lights. Marcus fell, hitting the ground hard, panic rising. "Mom! Dad! What's happening?" Jack's chest tightened as he instinctively moved to protect his son. "Everyone, stay calm!" he shouted, although his own heart raced. He could feel the cold sweat creeping down his back as time slipped away, each second stretching into eternity. Amid the chaos, a loud crash shattered the air. The sound of a window breaking echoed in the distance. Within the turmoil, a voice cried out, "They're here! They've found it!" What? Jack's mind raced, confusion swirling like a storm inside him. He turned to Henry, desperation clawing at him. What is going on? What did you mean by family? But Henry just stared, his expression shifting from anger to something that looked like regret. You'll find out soon enough. And then, in a flash of movement, he darted away into the darkness, disappearing in the shadows, leaving Jack and Marcus amidst the chaos, confusion, and an unveiling truth that threatened to shatter everything they thought they knew. The silence was suffocating. Henry's question hung heavy in the air, charged with electricity. Jack felt his heart race. What price are you ready to pay for the truth? Before he could respond, the night erupted with chaos. A loud bang echoed from the street. Jack turned, instincts on high alert. Suddenly, a dark figure burst into view at the end of the driveway, sprinting toward them, panting and wild-eyed. It was another man, unkempt and frantic, and he yelled something Jack couldn't understand, swallowed by the distance. "Marcus, get back!" Jack shouted, adrenaline coursing through him. But it wasn't the figure he feared, it was Henry. The homeless man's expression twisted into something dark and desperate, his eyes wide with unspoken terror. "Run! Get out!" Henry barked, twisting toward Jack, the urgency of his voice sharp enough to cut through the tension. Something about him was changed. He wasn't just a broken man anymore. There was power, a flicker of something raw and primal. What did he know? Before Jack could grasp the situation, the dark figure took a leap, barreling into Henry with a force that sent them both tumbling to the ground. The sound was sickening, a thud that echoed against the marble floor of the mansion. Jack felt the icy grip of fear tightening around his heart. He couldn't understand it. What was happening? Marcus stood frozen, eyes wide, caught between the chaos and the boy he always felt he should be. "Dad!" he yelled, an edge of panic creeping into his voice. Jack made a move toward them, but Henry shouted again, eyes locked on Marcus. "Stay back! He's dangerous!" Dangerous? Jack's mind whirled, trying to piece together the puzzle. The man on the ground struggled against Henry, limbs flailing. The shadows cast by the mansion lights danced dangerously around them. "Who are you?" Jack demanded, his voice shaky yet booming through the confusion. "What do you want?" With a brutal shove, Henry pushed the dark figure off him, scrambling to his feet. The man looked unhinged, sweat glistening on his brow amidst dirt and despair. "Henry, why'd you have to say anything? They'll find you!" He spat the words like venom. Henry's face twisted in pain, disbelief flashing across his features. "I had to! They deserve to know!" His voice cracked. "It was never just about money." Jack felt cold creeping into his bones. What were they talking about? Was this all a game? He couldn't let his son be pulled into this madness. He took a step forward, heart thumping violently against his ribs. "Back off!" He stood tall, a fortress against the unfolding chaos. Then everything happened at once. In a flash, the dark figure lunged toward Marcus. A scream tore from Jack's throat, primal and raw. Time slowed, the world fading into a blur. He lunged too, desperate, arms outstretched. At that moment, everything changed. A gunshot rang out, sharp and screaming through the night, dividing the air like a knife. Jack's heart stopped. A sudden silence wrapped around them, thick and suffocating. The dark figure staggered back. Henry fell to the ground, clutching his side, blood seeping through his fingers. Marcus dropped to his knees, shock draping over him like a heavy coat. Jack stood there, breath caught in his throat, heart pounding, mind racing. The truth? What truth? What had he walked into? What lies lingered in the darkness behind Henry's eyes? Everything flipped. Those sharp breaths of desperation, fear, and confusion transformed into a mixture of horror and awe. Jack had to know. The price of truth was more than money now. It was life itself. And the secret hung in the air, waiting to be uncovered. Jack's heart raced, a drum in complete chaos. Henry lay sprawled on the driveway, blood pooling beneath him. The sirens wailed, drowning out the world, and Marcus knelt, frozen in shock. Jack felt the walls of his life, the carefully built facade, teetering on the brink of collapse. "Henry!" Jack shouted, his voice breaking. "Stay with us!" Henry blinked slowly, eyes heavy with pain. "Jack, it's not what you think," he gasped, blood bubbling on his lips. "I didn't have a choice." Panic surged in Jack's chest. "What do you mean?" "You're hurt. More than you know." Henry's voice faded, but his gaze burned with urgency. "You need to listen." Before Jack could reply, the dark figure sprang up, shaking off the confusion. "You need to get out of here." He lunged again toward Henry, but two police officers tackled him to the ground, their shouts cutting through the chaos. "Hands behind your head!" one officer yelled, voice commanding. Officers swarmed like swallows, ready to contain any threat. "What's happening?" Jack exclaimed, horror gripping him. His world spun. "We were just talking. Who is he?" And then everything shifted again. Out of nowhere, a man in a black suit appeared, sharply contrasting the chaos around him. He walked with an air of confidence, gripping a cell phone tightly, eyes scanning the scene. As he reached Jack and Marcus, something in his expression held the weight of truth. "Step aside," he ordered, unfazed by the chaos. "I'm here to take him." "Take who?" Jack demanded, voice rising. The man pointed at Henry. "There are bigger stakes than you realize." He stepped closer, revealing an emblem on his lapel, something Jack had seen before, linked to a powerful corporation known for its dark dealings. His stomach twisted. Henry's past is more than just a cautionary tale. Henry's breathing was shallow, his skin pale. "Jack, please believe me." "What's going on?" Jack shouted again, desperate for answers. The man in the suit fixed his gaze on Jack, cold and calculating. Henry was a witness to something catastrophic. "Catalyst," Henry murmured, as if priming for a secret. "Before I lost everything, I uncovered a network." Jack clenched his fists. "A network? What are you talking about?" "The truth about your family," Henry rasped, seizing the moment. "It's tied to the money, Jack. Everything you own was built on their lies." A chill shot down Jack's spine, the pieces of his life spiraling beyond grasp. "What lies?" "What do you mean?" Before Henry could elaborate, something in the crowd shifted. A woman emerged, weaving through the officers. Her face, pale and strained, drew Jack's attention like a magnet. It was lively Jessica, his ex-wife, panic written across her features. "Marcus, you need to come with me," she shouted, her eyes wild. "Now!" "Mom, What's happening? Marcus cried, jumpy and frightened. Not here, she urged, words spiraling in a frenzy. There's no time. We're in danger. But the air thickened with tension. Jack turned to Henry, confusion morphing into something sharper, deeper. What's your connection then? Jessica knows, Henry said, voice low. She's been part of it all along. Jack felt the chill grip him, but before he could process the revelation, an explosion rocked the street, sending debris flying. The police officers ducked, shouts erupted, and chaos reigned supreme. As smoke filled the air, Jack turned to find Jessica looking panicked, tears streaming down her cheeks. They're coming for all of us. We're not safe. Safe? What do you mean? Jack could barely catch his breath, struggling under the weight of everything. Your father, your family, Henry croaked. You're intertwined, in ways you can't comprehend. Our legacies are linked. You're part of it. Just then, in that moment of confusion and uncertainty, another loud crash jolted the scene. Jack felt his world fracture. He couldn't distinguish friend from foe, and Henry's cryptic words echoed in his mind. What legacies, what truths were tearing through the fabric of their lives? Suddenly, the crowd gasped. The smoke parted, revealing the dark figure now standing, shaking and battered, but eyes burning with fervor. You think you know everything? I'm just getting started. And with that, Jack's reality twisted even further, like a corkscrew unscrewing the very foundation of his life. As they all stood on the brink of chaos, the question lingered in the air. What truth lay just beyond their reach? What price would they all have to pay to uncover it? As the air hung thick and heavy, Henry's question echoed in their minds. What price are you ready to pay for the truth? Jack could feel the tension mounting. His heart raced, eyes darting from Marcus's face to Henry's intense gaze. Let's just go inside, Jack urged, his voice hoarse and tight. He tried to pull Marcus away, but his son stood firm, a fortress of resolve. No, Dad, I need to hear this, Marcus said, his determination ignited like a flame in the dark. The gravity of the situation struck Jack like cold water. Every protective instinct surged within him. Yet he saw the glimmer of something genuine in Marcus's eyes, an eagerness to understand, to tap into the depths of human experience beyond their affluent bubble. Henry cleared his throat, preparing to reveal more. Jack clenched his jaw. What do you know about my family? He demanded, his voice a low growl. Henry's lips curled into a knowing smirk, as if he relished the moment. Everything, he said slowly. You see, Marcus, your father isn't who he claims to be, and neither am I. The weight of that statement landed like a lead weight in Jack's stomach, and he stepped back instinctively. The mansion towering behind him like a judge in a courtroom. What are you talking about? Jack's voice trembled as the whispers of their neighbors seemed to slither closer. Henry leaned in, his voice barely a whisper. You think you know the truth? What if I told you that your birth mother was my sister? The words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Jack's breath caught. Memories of frantic phone calls and whispered conversations flooded back. He had often wondered about his biological mother, a shadowy figure from his youth, wrapped in secrecy. What? Marcus gasped, his voice a mix of shock and confusion. Jack's mind raced, trying to piece together the broken fragments of his past. Married to fortune, blessed with success. He had buried those memories deep, flicking them away like an old coin. Yet here stood Henry, revealing a twisted connection that threatened to unravel everything Jack had built. Your mother was taken from me when she married into your grandfather's family. You were raised in bliss, while I lived on the streets. Henry's voice hung heavy with grief. The silence was suffocating. Jack's chest tightened unbearably, anger bubbling up inside. "You're lying!" he spat. But somewhere inside, doubt was creeping in. "Am I?" Henry shot back, glaring into Jack's eyes. Just then, a loud crash interrupted the standoff. The iron gate behind Jack fell open with a resounding thud, startling him. Two uniformed police officers dashed into the scene, flashlights piercing the darkness. "What's going on here?" one officer shouted, looking at the group. Before Jack could respond, Marcus stepped forward defiantly. "This man is my family!" he shouted, throwing Jack's stomach into a whirlwind. Jack felt faint, his world tilting on its axis. He opened his mouth to protest, but no sound came out. He wanted to scream, to deny it all, but with a single glance at Marcus, his son, standing boldly next to a homeless man claiming kinship, he realized the truth might be spiraling into the public eye. "Sir, we received a call about a disturbance," the officer said, eyeing Henry suspiciously. "Can you explain this?" An awkward silence blanketed them. All eyes were on Jack, a tech billionaire, now faced with the unraveling of a past he thought buried. And as the weight of two lives intertwined struck him, Jack knew that the truth was just starting to rise. What price, indeed, for a past he never wanted to face. The moment hung in the air, thick with uncertainty and unfulfilled answers. Jack shifted his weight nervously, his eyes darting between Marcus and Henry. The tension crackled, and just as Jack opened his mouth to respond, a sudden sound sliced through the charged silence. A sharp, unmistakable crack, followed by the whimpering sound of a siren in the distance. Everyone froze. A quick glance exchanged between Marcus and Henry hinted at some secret shared only by them. Jack's heart raced. What was happening? What was this urgency? The siren grew louder, but it wasn't the only disturbing noise. Voices began rising from the street, punctuated by shouts and panic not far from his mansion. "Stay here," Jack barked, panic fueling his words as he stepped aside to rush toward the entrance. But before he could make a move, Marcus raised a hand. The confusion in his eyes caught Jack off guard. "Wait, Dad! Please just listen!" Marcus turned to face Henry again, his expression shifting from curiosity to something deeper, almost a recognition. Jack's instincts screamed at him to take control, to pull Marcus away from this stranger. But the weight of those words hung in the air like a secret about to burst open. "I have to tell him," Marcus breathed, his voice barely above a whisper. Yet there it was, a silent plea coursing with urgency. Henry looked grave. "There are things you don't understand, kid. But you need to know this now, before it's too late." The homeless man leaned closer, the shadows of his past creeping into the space between them. Just then, a familiar figure crested the driveway. A woman, frazzled and frantic, sprinting toward them, her hair whipped behind her. A blur of disarray. It took Jack a second to recognize her. "Emily?" His wife's name fell from his lips like a curse. He hadn't expected her home this early. Emily's face was flushed, panic and fatigue twisting her features. "Jack, we need to talk. This isn't just about us anymore. The police are here." With that, everything shifted. The hushed whispers from the neighbors intensified. Though they were in their wealth cocoon, truth had a way of prying open doors and pulling down walls. "What do you mean?" Jack demanded, the air suddenly feeling thin. "Henry, he's not who you think he is. We've been hiding something from both of you. It's about that link he mentioned." She paused, her mouth trembling. He's not just some random homeless guy. He has a connection to our boy." Marcus stepped back, his world tilting. "What? Mom, what are you talking about?" Before Emily could answer, the chaos outside burst through the open door. Police cars rolled in, their lights flashing with red and blue urgency. Officers began deploying, their shouts ringing out as they fanned out into the night. Among them was a familiar face, Detective Williams, Jack's old friend from the station. "Jack, we need your help. There's something you need to see." Williams called, urgency coating his tone. Henry took a step back, eyes widening at the sight of the approaching officers. "No, this can't be happening," he muttered, fear cracking through his gruff exterior. Jack's heart raced faster. The weight of every word Emily had spoken crashed against him, pressing down like a lead weight. "What do you mean he has a connection?" But before she could answer, something like recognition, dawned in Marcus. No, it can't be. It was too much. Too many questions swirled in Jack's mind, forming a tempest that threatened to damage everything he held dear. What was the truth? What was at stake? "Stop!" Jack shouted, the panic bubbling to the surface. "Everyone, just stop!" But nobody was listening. A figure appeared in the doorway, partially obscured by the chaos, tall, cloaked in darkness. And with a fateful step into the light, they lifted their head. "Dad, you need to see this!" Marcus had never looked more serious, more pained, as if everything he believed was about to shatter. Jack stepped forward, then froze at the sight. The face was familiar, yet unrecognizable, twisting the tale entirely. "It can't be!" he whispered, the words forming yet a new truth that shook the foundation of his world. And just as the reality hit, the sirens blared louder, drowning out all else. The truth was coming, whether they were ready or not. The cold air thickened with tension as Henry's question hung there, twisting in the stillness. Jack's heart drummed in his chest. The moment felt suspended, like everything had just teetered on the edge. What price are you ready to pay? For the truth? Before Jack could gather his thoughts or respond, Marcus spoke up, his voice steady and firm. "I want to know," he said, looking up at Henry with a fiery determination. The distant murmurs of the neighbors faded into a fog of disbelief. Jack's breath hitched. Was this really his son? Just then, a sudden flash of light burst through the night. It shattered the fragile silence. Jack turned instinctively, catching the silhouette of a figure moving rapidly across the yard. A flash, then another. It couldn't be. His heart raced. "Get down!" Jack shouted, instinctively holding out his arms to shield Marcus. Yet before he could react, a cracking sound echoed through the stillness, a gunshot in the night. Panic surged, clawing at Jack's throat. The noise erupted, shocking the neighbors back into their homes. The world spun around him in a blur of chaos. He felt Marcus's hand squeeze his arm. "Dad!" Henry darted forward, eyes wide, startling in their intensity. His voice was a low growl as he shoved Jack and Marcus back behind the protective gate. "Stay down! We gotta move!" Jack's mind raced. Who was shooting? Was it aimed at them? It didn't make sense. His heart was in his throat, and he could feel the weight of the world tipping out of balance. One family secret had already been dropped like a bomb. Now this menace, a gunshot, transformed everything in his life into potential chaos. The stranger, the man in tatters, was suddenly no longer just a man on the street. Jack suddenly saw him as an ally, maybe even a protector. As Henry positioned himself in front of them, Jack's confusion deepened. Then the most shocking thing happened. The moon caught a reflection on the locket Henry uncovered from under his filthy shirt. A glint of gold flashed, transforming the night. It swung open, revealing two faces, Jacob and Sarah, Jack's long-lost cousins. "What the hell?" Jack breathed, choking on his disbelief. "Shut up!" Henry snapped, his voice a blend of frustration and urgency. "This isn't the time." The name felt like a punch to Jack's gut. Jacob and Sarah, thought dead in a tragic accident years ago, had vanished when he was a child. How was this possible? Henry's eyes bore into Jack, the same eyes as his cousins. "They're alive! I'm your family too!" The revelation stunned everyone into silence, broken only by the muffled rustle of scattered leaves. Marcus gasped. "What?" "Get off the property," a voice barked through a megaphone, offering no comfort. It was a police squad now, looming, lights flashing ominously through manicured hedges. The world felt like it was collapsing, faces reeling, hearts pounding. They were tangled in a web, far beyond just secrets about wealth. Henry's truth had ignited more than Jack had bargained for. "Run!" Henry shouted, reaching for Marcus. "We need to go now!" Jack felt a twisting pang of panic. What did this mean? Family was alive. There was danger. The truth felt like a vortex sucking them in deeper. He stared at Henry. The choice loomed heavy. Stay and discover everything, or flee and risk it all. His choice blurred, as momentous and precarious as the shot that had split the night. In that instant of uncertainty, Jack braced for the answer that could redefine everything. The chaotic air pressed in on Jack. The sound of the sirens pulsed like a drum, the lights casting flickering shadows that danced around them. Henry's urgent command echoed in Jack's mind. "We need to go now!" But before they could move, a piercing scream cut through the night, jagged and raw. Jack turned just in time to see Marcus darting toward the figure sprawled on the gravel. "No!" Jack's heart plummeted. "Get back! Marcus!" Emily's voice trembled, her eyes wide with terror. She reached for him, but he was already on his knees beside Henry, fear and something else igniting his face. Defiance, maybe. Jack fought against the instinct to rush in, torn between protecting his son and the chaos erupting around them. "Don't you understand? He's dangerous," Jack shouted, voice strained, desperation flooding his words. But before Marcus could respond, the dark figure moved again, rising with a sudden, jarring intensity. His face contorted, revealing deep lines of pain mixed with rage. "You don't know me!" He spat, lunging forward. But before he reached Marcus, a blinding flash illuminated the chaos. A gunshot rang out, loud enough to drown all other sounds. What felt like slow motion ripped through the air. Jack's eyes quivered with disbelief as he watched the figure drop, blood blossoming across his shirt. Henry, wide-eyed, staggered into Marcus, knocking them both to the ground. The truth, everything about his family, about life, changed in an instant. "No!" Emily cried. Hands clasped over her mouth, horror etched into her features. Jack felt the world pull away beneath his feet. Henry groaned, fingers clutching his side where blood pooled, that familiar glint of desperation turning to despair. "Why are you doing this?" he rasped, eyes flickering between Jack and Marcus. "You don't know!" The police officers surged forward, shouts blending into one chaotic roar as they surrounded Marcus and Henry. "Get back!" one officer yelled, rushing to contain the scene, but Jack couldn't remove his gaze from the chaos. Suddenly, the fallen figure gasped, sitting up with a wild look in his eyes. "It's too late. They'll find out." His voice cracked and shattered the tension again, both gripping and chilling. Jack squinted, trying to make sense of it all. Who was this man? Henry's expression morphed, fear blending with something deeper. Shame? "You shouldn't have come." "What are you talking about?" Jack shouted, disbelief surging through him thick and fast. "I did this for you!" The man barked, unsettling chaos spilling from his lips. "I didn't want you to find out the truth this way." Jack's heartbeat quickened, confusion layering over confusion. "What truth?" Then, with agonizing clarity, the man spoke, words that froze Jack's blood. "You're not who you think you are. Your entire life has been a lie. The wealth, the success, it's all built on stolen blood." Jack's heart stopped. "What?" The ground felt unsteady beneath his feet. The world spiraling. Was this man delusional, or was something sinister lurking at the edges of his family history? Emily stepped back, shaking her head, but Jack's gaze was fixated. "What do you mean?" A sudden gasp erupted from Henry. "Stop! Don't say anything more!" But it was already too late. The man continued, driven. "Your family is tied to mine, Jack. You're part of something dark, something you've never been told." I thought. Without warning, another shot rang out, slicing the chaos once again. This time, it hit the man squarely in the chest. He gasped, eyes wide, as he crumpled to the ground, blood pooling rapidly. Jack felt his insides churn, the world collapsing in on itself. "No!" he screamed, the truth shattering into a million pieces. Emily gasped. What just happened? Jack dropped to his knees, fear churning through him. The truth was no longer just a whisper. It was a furious tide, pulling them all under. Every memory flashed before him, every moment he'd taken for granted. And as everything around him drowned in chaos, Jack understood. What he thought was reality was brushing perilously close to fiction. And as he looked to Marcus, fear glimmering in his son's eyes, Jack felt the ground shift. What have we gotten ourselves into? The question hung there, unanswered, as darkness loomed ever closer. The world felt heavy. The silence crashed like waves against the shore, unbearable. Jack knelt by the fallen figure, panic seeping into his bones. He had so many questions, so much he didn't understand. The eerie glow of the police lights danced across the scene, mixing shadows and sharp edges. But Jack felt blind. "Get away from him!" Emily shouted, her voice trembling. Each second stretched. Time seemed to unravel before them. The police officers had moved in fast, but Jack's eyes were glued to the ground. The blood pooled slick and dark, the pulse of truth beating through the chaos. He couldn't grasp what had just happened. Is he going to die?" Marcus's voice broke through the haze, a whisper laced with fear. Jack looked at his son. It was as if the innocence of childhood was slipping away, shattered by the raw violence of reality. "Stay back!" one officer yelled, pushing Marcus to the side. The hustle around them ignited into a frenzy. But then, in the thick of it all, Henry stirred. Jack's heart skipped. Get the files," he croaked, each word laced with pain. What files? What did he mean? The urgency in Henry's gaze cracked the veil of confusion. "Henry!" Jack yelled, desperation cutting through him thick like fog. "What are you talking about? What files? What truth?" With a strained grunt, Henry fought to prop himself up on one elbow. His eyes were wild, darting as if he could see through the layers of chaos unfolding. "Your family, it extends beyond what you know. It's all connected." The urgency in his tone pulled Jack closer. "You'll find it." The police were shouting commands, the scene unraveling as officers pushed the bystanders back. Jack couldn't bear the thought of losing this thread, of slipping back into uncertain dark. Suddenly, the loud crack of a voice interrupted. "Detective, come here!" A figure emerged, pushing past the others. It was Detective Williams, his face pale, eyes wide. "Jack, listen. You're not in danger, but we need to talk. This isn't just about Henry." What now? Questions sprang rebounding in Jack's mind. He didn't know what was happening, didn't recognize the ground beneath his feet. But then it happened. Something sparked. A sudden noise, a sound like distant thunder. It swept in from the street, building. Jack turned. Was it more police? Or something more ominous? "Look out!" Someone shouted, but it came too late. A van came barreling down the street, tires screeching. Panic erupted as people scrambled. The van skidded to a stop right in front of them. Doors flew open. Shadows leaped out, menacing. Hooded figures obscured by the night. Jack's breath froze. "What the hell?" he gasped. From behind the boys, a voice emerged, deceptively calm. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." It was Emily. The sight of her held him frozen. She stepped forward, a gleam in her eye that didn't belong to the woman he knew. "Emily!" Jack stumbled over her name, feeling unmoored. But the moment hung heavily, dark and charged. She turned to the figures outside the van, a flicker of recognition twisting her expression into something cold. "You found me." The reality crashed down like a building. Emily wasn't just an innocent bystander caught in this mess. She was a part of it. Jack felt the ground drop from under him. "What do you mean, you found you?" She smiled, lips curving in a way he had never seen before. "I've known about the truth all along, Jack. But it doesn't end here. They want you too." Jack's heart thundered. Everything he thought he understood, everything he loved, imploded like a house of cards caught in a storm. The relationships, the love, the life they built together, it all felt like a lie. "Emily, what truth?" Henry managed to croak out, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Everything," she replied, her voice chilling. Each word slipped from her lips like poison, slicing through the air. "Everything you thought you knew about your family. The lies run deeper, and I'm the one who's kept them hidden." Jack swayed, reeling from the disorientation. What had he done? He had trusted her. In the thick of chaos, Emily stood defiantly, and the realization washed over him. She wasn't just a victim. She was orchestrating this all along. Every fiber of his being screamed betrayal. Around them, the police tried to maintain control, but the tide had shifted. This was no longer just about a wounded man on the ground. It was about a deep-rooted deceit, threatening to drown them all. Momentum surged as the hooded figures moved closer, the darkness swirling around them. The air crackled with tension, pulse quickening. Jack stood, heart racing. "What do you want?" he shouted, challenging the unknown. And in that moment, among the chaos and the violence, the truth coiled tighter, ready to strike. Jack felt the ground tremble underfoot. What was real? And how far would they go to protect the lies? As the shadows closed in, the mystery loomed larger than life, haunting them all like a fever dream with no way out. The air thickened with tension as the hooded figures stepped closer, eyes glinting in the police lights. Jack's breath hitched. Emily's betrayal stung like a slap across the face. "What do you mean? You knew!" he shouted, desperate for answers. "Let's just say I'm tied to more than you know," Emily replied, her voice steady but laced with venom. "You thought you were building a future, but you were really part of a plan." A knot twisted in Jack's gut. "A plan? What plan?" His heart raced, pounding against his ribs. Every moment felt like a heartbeat away from chaos. Henry grabbed at Jack's arm, frail but fierce. "She's right, Jack. Everything we've tried to protect, it all leads back to your family's past. The fortune, the secrets, it's all linked." Police officers shifted nervously, weapons drawn, unsure of how to control the situation. "Everyone back up," one shouted, but nobody moved. They were all entranced by the pulse of the moment. Marcus knelt beside Henry, wide-eyed. "What do you mean? What are you hiding?" His voice cracked. A boy on the edge of manhood, the weight of truth threatening to crush him. The tension snapped as one of the hooded figures moved toward Emily, a sneer curling lips. "You think you can control this? You're just as expendable." The atmosphere shifted, thick with danger. Jack sensed panic rising like a storm, ready to spill over. "Shut up!" Emily snapped, fear barely masked by her bravado. "We're in this together, aren't we?" She pointed accusingly at the hooded figure, words sharp. Henry groaned, clutching his side tighter. "You have to stop this. The truth is out. There's no going back. Stop what? Jack interjected, anger bubbling. Stop whatever twisted game you're playing? People are getting hurt. He turned, glancing at Marcus, each second echoing painfully in his mind. And then it happened. A sudden roar as a second van rolled into the chaos. Doors flung open, shadows spilling out. Jack couldn't believe his eyes. "No!" he whispered. More figures emerged, more chaos, and he felt the ground shift beneath him. "Surrender! Now!" An authoritative voice rang out, booming through the night. "I won't let you take him." Henry struggled to his feet, defiance boiling over despite the blood loss. "This isn't over!" "What do you want?" Jack cried out, desperation clawing at him. "What truth do you have to share? Enough with the secrets." But before anyone could respond, the sky above them erupted with noise. Helicopters buzzed overhead, bright lights sweeping down, illuminating the chaos below. Jack squinted against the blinding light. The shadows revealed hardened faces, eyes watching with keen interest. "Jack, we need to get out of here," Marcus shouted, dragging Henry back. But the unexpected happened next. Emily stepped up, her demeanor shifting. "If you want the truth, come with me," she barked out, her voice gathering strength. The shadows around them shifted, waiting, ready to act. Jack hesitated, heart racing, torn between anger and fear. Could he trust Emily? But then that familiar panic gripped him. The truth, it seemed, was a tangled web, and they had all spun directly into its center. "Go!" Emily pushed, urging Jack forward as police encircled them. "You'll regret waiting!" With no other option left, Jack grabbed Marcus's arm, pulling him close as they moved toward the van, strangers against the night, united by unresolved secrets. As the last words escaped Henry's lips, "Don't forget me," Jack felt something shift within him, the weight of all that had been said crashing over him like a wave. The van door slammed shut behind them. The chaos faded slightly as the engine roared to life. Jack glanced back, the faces of uncertainty and hope blurring under the spotlight. The truth wasn't just out there, it was waiting. And as the van sped away, he knew that every answer lingered just out of reach. And the question hung heavy, an unfinished thought echoing in his mind. What was the price they would pay for their truth? Hey, before you go, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming exclusive stories. We have a lot more to uncover. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your involvement makes all the difference. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Don't wait even a second longer to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.